Hello, and welcome back to the Snooze Files. Tonight, we're slowly unraveling a strange little mystery tucked into every meal. Why do we use forks? They're so normal, so unremarkable that we rarely question them. But the fork's rise to table stardom was surprisingly slow, and for centuries considered kind of rude. If you're ready to relax or fall asleep to something mildly interesting, let's begin. Humans have been eating for a long time, but for most of that time, we did it without forks. In early civilizations, Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, people used their hands, and in some cultures, they still do. Knives were the first to show up at the table, mostly for cutting. Spoons followed, carved from wood, bone, or metal. But forks? Forks were late to the party. The earliest known forks came from ancient Persia, used not for eating, but for cooking and serving. They had two sharp tines, more like a tiny pitchfork, and were used to hold meat steady while it was carved. It wasn't until around the 11th century that forks started appearing in Europe. They came via the Byzantine Empire, introduced through marriage alliances and cultural exchanges. One famous story involves a Byzantine princess who brought a fork to Italy and scandalized the locals. Church leaders called the fork excessively refined and unnecessary. Some even claimed it was an insult to God, who gave us fingers. For centuries, Europeans kept using knives and spoons. Forks were viewed as exotic, overly delicate, or even immoral. It wasn't until the 1600s and 1700s that the fork finally gained acceptance. France, in particular, helped normalize the practice. Catherine de' Medici is often credited with bringing fork usage into the French court, and from there it slowly trickled out into broader European society. By the time of the Enlightenment, forks had become a symbol of civility, and proper table manners were evolving to include their use. They weren't just for royalty anymore. Eventually, forks crossed the Atlantic to the Americas, and by the 1800s, they were standard in many households. And so, dear listener, that's how the humble fork made its slow, sometimes controversial journey from strange foreign tool to everyday utensil. If your mind is starting to wander or your eyelids are growing heavy, feel free to drift off now. For more mundane mysteries and sleepy histories, subscribe to the Snooze Files and send me your suggestions for future episodes. Until then, night-night, sleep tight.